All right, day number 6. Where were we? Let's get things kicked off. Okay, it's one of my albums. I'll have plenty to say about it. Kicking us off, we have "In the Passing Light of Day" by Pain of Salvation, submitted by me, and this is one of my favorite progressive metal albums. I don't know if it is my favorite progressive metal album, but it's one of, and I feel pretty confident in saying that Pain of Salvation is my favorite progressive metal band. Daniel Gildenlow, the vocalist, I think his range is just absolutely incredible. And on "In the Passing Light of Day," despite it being my favorite project by them, I feel pretty confident in saying that. There's a few that I really love. You don't hear his range as much on this. So if you liked this, do yourself a favor. Check out their other work. It's incredible. The whole discography rules. And among fans of the band, it's generally considered that Remedy Lane is their best work, and Remedy Lane is fantastic, but it is not as impactful to me as "In the Passing Light of Day." So the background and the context of it is Daniel got infected with a flesh-eating bacteria and essentially was hospitalized in the ICU for months on end and given about a 30% chance of recovering. He thankfully did. He made a not full recovery, but a mostly full recovery. He has significant scarring in the affected areas. But this album was written during his time in the hospital, and the first song he wrote for the album is the closer, is "In the Passing Light of Day." This is when his prognosis was at its worst, and he fully expected to never leave the hospital. And it was written as essentially his own eulogy, as his last message to his wife and kids. His son is in the band, and he had it in his will that if he passed, this would be played at his funeral. He thankfully lived to perform it himself, but just the emotion, the pain, but also like the bittersweetness of it makes me tear up every time. And the rest of the album is also consistently great. It really goes through the emotional journey of terminal illness. And it's just super impactful, super emotional, technically impressive, composed brilliantly, and performed with passion that is hard to come by. I love it. I think it's phenomenal, and it stands out among the rest of a almost flawless discography. There's some stuff, there's some albums in there that are like, but most of the albums rule. So "In the Passing Light of Day" by Pain of Salvation, for me, is just barely shy of a 10. It's very close, but it's 9.5. Next up, we have "Among the Living" by Anthrax, submitted by Kyle. It's good. I mean, I'm not a particularly huge thrash metal fan, and when we're talking about thrash metal, you know there's the 4 big thrash metal bands. You have Slayer, you have Megadeth, Iron Maiden, and Anthrax. And while they're all good in their own right, I don't know that I would meet anybody who would say Anthrax is their favorite of the big 4. For me, it's Iron Maiden. After that, Megadeth. And that's not to say Anthrax doesn't do a great job. They do. Just among their peers, I feel like they're lacking the thing that distinguishes them. You know, for Iron Maiden, I think it's the crazy vocal performances, and the lyrics are just kind of nutty. Megadeth, really swelling and complex and not delicate, but like intricate instrumentation. Slayer, the thrashiest of thrash metal. And Anthrax is just, it's Anthrax. It's not to say they don't do a good job. They do. They do a fine job producing slash metal. It's not my favorite. And I'm a bit interested in why "Among the Living" was chosen compared to like something like Madhouse. I don't know. It was fine. It was adequate. That's what it is. It qualifies as thrash metal. It even qualifies as pretty decent thrash metal. But compared to its peers, I just don't think it stands on its own very well. So "Among the Living," I enjoyed it. It just didn't blow me out of the water. It didn't turn me into an Anthrax fan. So I'll call it a 6.5 on that. Following up, we have "Paramore" by Paramore, submitted by Jude. And I'm going to give this pretty high praise as someone who normally... Sorry, Muffin is thinking of sinning. and I have to keep an eye on her. Paramore by Paramore is going to get high praise from me because I find a lot of pop punk to be pretty hollow. It can be really samey. I don't hear a lot of innovation in the space a lot. And I feel like the core components of pop punk, of taking those punk, really straightforward guitars and really straightforward instrumentation with, the pop aesthetic and the pop performance. But I think Hayley Williams delivered. She did a really good job making this stand out. And sure, the instruments, the instrumentation, nothing crazy. The composition, nothing crazy. But they executed it really well. I liked her singing. I liked her vocals. I feel like this should be the ideal of pop punk. It was pop and punk. I feel like some bands kind of get lost in the mix, but this I feel like was the beautiful middle road. The Buddhist middle path, if you will, of pop punk. And I really enjoyed it. Was it my favorite album of the year? No. Is it going to forever change how I look at pop punk? I was going to say no when I started that sentence, but maybe a little bit. I think it showed me the light. It showed me what that genre is capable of doing. Muffin, you're going to be a sinner and you're going to burn in hell. So you stay away from that litter box, okay? I'm sorry, she's interrupting. Paramore by Paramore. Tons of respect to Hayley Williams. Tons of respect to the rest of the band. They put this thing together. They made it pretty excellent. Not my favorite listen. I loved it. A lot of contradiction in my response here. For pop punk, I loved it. For a pop punk album, I loved it. As music in general, it's pretty good. So, Paramore by Paramore. That's going to be a 7.5. Now, I know y'all have been waiting to hear my thoughts on this. We have today's album. We have Brat by Charlie XCX, submitted by Brendan. This is just a little bit of a neat thing for me. This week, I tried to get a little ahead because I have... it's my 5-year anniversary tomorrow on Saturday. So I wanted to get a few albums ahead so I could try to stack up recordings and pump them out. And so Brendan replaced what used to be here with Brat this morning or last night, sometime between yesterday and today. So I had to go back. I had to listen to Brat today. I get it. I wasn't expecting to get it, but I get it, you guys. This thing kind of went hard. Hyperpop dance, Charlie's performance on it, the vocals, the instrumentation, it kind of went a little crazy with it. Did it ate? She ate? I don't know, but I was expecting this to be a better than average pop project. Because you all should be quite aware of my gripes and my apprehensions with pop music. But damn, Charlie. I liked Charlie here. I liked what she did with it. Lots of songs. Came out of left field. Wasn't expecting it. Blown away by some of the tracks on here. Von Dutch, B2B, Mean Girls, even 365. I get why it was Brat Girl Summer. I get it. I do. I wasn't expecting to get it. I get it. It was great. I loved it. This may be the first mainstream pop album in my life that I will be bumping. So, Brat by Charlie XCX is going to get a 9.5 out of 10. I thought it was great. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.